Mandalika Massacre, the crown, the cracks, and the blood of champions. Indonesia 2025 wasn't a race weekend. It was a battlefield. Marc Marquez, crowned king just days earlier, fell twice in practice and was dragged into Q1 for the first time this season. Bezzecchi lit the track on fire. Fermin and Acosta smelled blood, while Pecco's family help from VR46 exposed Ducati's dirty secrets. This is the gangster ballad of a champion cracking, rivals scheming, and an empire shaking under its own lies. 2 crashes, 1 king, 1 hour that smelled like gasoline and betrayal. Marc Marquez, fresh from screaming his lungs out in Japan, fresh from lifting a 9th world title like a warlord hoisting severed heads, walked into Mandalika as the champion who couldn't be touched. And yet, within 10 minutes, the beast was on the ground. Turn 10, a tuck, a gasp. The god fell. He rose, he climbed back on, but the blood had already hit the water. 30 minutes left, and the second crash slammed him into the tarmac, like fate reminding him that thrones are never permanent. Turn 5 chewed him up, spat him out, and the GP25 dragged his body like a Judas kiss. For the first time this season, the new world champion was exiled into Q1, the opening qualifying pit where mortals sweat, the wolf forced to sit with the lambs. And across the pit lane, Marco Bezzecchi grinned with a 1mm 29.240x bullet. Fermin Aldeguer and Pedro Acosta loaded their guns. Pecco Bagnaia's Ducati smelled of borrowed parts and VR46 smoke. The fire wasn't coming. It was already here. Marc Marquez wasn't supposed to bleed anymore. Not after Japan. Not after conquering his demons and riding Ducati's GP25 into submission. They called him the oldest modern champion, the comeback monster, the serial assassin who had dragged himself from 6 years of shadows. He was myth, he was hunger, he was brutality with 2 wheels beneath him. But myths are only as strong as their weakest scars. And Marc's body is a graveyard of scars. 4 surgeries, 108 crashes since Jerez 2020, a left arm filled with plates and screws that whisper at night, vision blurred in corners. Nerves that once refused to heal. This man doesn't ride machines, he rides ghosts. Indonesia, then, wasn't just a practice crash. It was history spitting back at him. Every rival watching him fall remembered that he is human. Ducati remembered too. Because while Marc broke the system and forced Gigi Dall'Igna to bend the GP25 to his savagery, the cracks were still there. Ducati built its empire on politics, not loyalty. Factories pick favorites. Factories whisper in shadows. And when VR46's Alessio Salucci casually admitted that Pecco Bagnaia had tried Franco Morbidelli's GP24 at Misano, an older machine fitted with a GP25 heart, the facade broke open. Family, he called it. The Ducati family. Lending bikes, lending secrets, bending rules until they screamed. And who benefited? Pecco. Who lost? The rest of the grid. Every rider told they fight equals, when the truth is that one golden boy gets the weapon first. Marc Marquez has always been the outsider, even in red. He forced Ducati to take him. He forced them to kneel. He forced them to admit the GP25 could be mastered. But family? No. He was never family. And Mandalika felt like the system laughing back. Bezzecchi's Aprilia slicing through the session like a switchblade. Aldeguer, the Spanish prodigy, showing Ducati what their future really looks like. Acosta, the rookie wolf, snarling on KTM. Mir, Quartararo, even Alex Marquez, everyone smelled the same thing. Blood. Marc Marquez, the myth, had climbed to the top of the mountain in Japan. But Indonesia whispered the truth. Even kings stumble, even killers bleed, even legends fall into Q1. Every scar is a medal, Marc once said. But medals weigh heavy. And Mandalika turned them into chains. The turning point wasn't the crash. It was the silence afterward. When Marc's second GP25 skidded back into pit lane, he climbed off, pulled off his gloves, and stared into the middle distance like a soldier hearing whispers of betrayal in his own camp. He had conquered Japan. He had conquered Honda's curse. He had conquered himself. But can you conquer the system when the system isn't built for you? Pecco Bagnaia's smile at Misano told its own story. 10 races without a podium, drowning in front-end misery, and suddenly, miracle. Suddenly 0.7s faster. Suddenly unstoppable in Japan. Suddenly Ducati's chosen son again. And when VR46's family help was exposed on live broadcast, the air stank of lies. Pecco admitted nothing, denied nothing, confirmed everything with that grin. Maybe we could have done this earlier. A confession without words. Ducati gave him what Marc never got. Charity, favoritism, backroom blessings. Marc doesn't beg, he doesn't take handouts, he builds war from ruin. But the whispers sting, because the truth is brutal. Every time Marc lifts a crown, factories sharpen knives. Every time he bends a bike into obedience, corporate hands move to snatch the credit away. The firestorm of Mandalika wasn't two crashes. It was Ducati's house of cards collapsing in public. Every GP25 out of Q2, every so-called masterpiece of Italian engineering looking like a rusted blade. Alex Marquez falling late, Di Gianantonio invisible, Morbidelli mid-pack, even Pecco struggling in FP1. The myth of the Ducati empire cracked on Indonesian asphalt. Marc's line, sharp enough to tattoo on skin. They gave me a ghost. I turned it into a weapon, and now they fear the hand that holds it. The firestorm spread. Bezzecchi's Aprilia ripped through timesheets. Acosta and Aldeguer pressed the old guard's throats with teenage hands. Yamaha found breath. Honda whispered resurrection. The battlefield shifted, and in the middle of it stood Marc Marquez, champion already, king already, but forced into Q1 like a rookie. Forced to prove again, forced to fight again, forced to rise again. That's the curse of kings. Your crown never sleeps. Rivals sharpening blades, Bezzecchi's dominance, Aldeguer's rise, Acosta snarling, Quartararo reborn. Ducati's inner circle politics exposed, VR46 giving Pecco advantages, while Marc is left to fight with raw brutality. Weaponizing stats. Marc's first Q1 since Germany 2024, all GP25s failing Q2, Pecco's 10-race drought broken only with VR46 help. Psychological collapse of rivals compared to Marc's war-scarred resilience. Repetition and contrast to show Marc versus Ducati system, Marc versus rivals, Marc versus fate. Q1 isn't exile, it's execution practice. Every rival thinks he saw the king fall. None understand that kings learn fastest when bleeding. This section would crown Mandalika not as a victory, but as paranoia's peak. Marc crowned days earlier, yet forced into mud in Indonesia. Bezzecchi ruling practice like a temporary king. Ducati's family secrets leaving Marc isolated. Victory is not the crown you wear. Victory is surviving the knives your own empire hides behind your throne. He was crowned in Japan, dragged into Q1 in Indonesia, and still, when the dust settles, it will not be Bezzecchi, not Aldeguer, not Bagnaia who defines this era. It will be the man who crashes twice, rises twice, and makes the world kneel anyway. Marc Marquez is not the champion. He is the war.